Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel dedicated to Dungeons and Dragons, where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit those like and subscribe buttons. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends at Critical Failures, where we're part of a live stream game. Check us out on Wednesdays. The links to both of those is in the description. Without further ado, we're going to jump into D&D's newest race, the Verdan. Verdan are a very strange goblinoid. They're descended from goblins and hobgoblins, though they themselves are not really part of the goblins and hobgoblins kind of warband or worship of Magubliet. They are unique as they are kind of the results of this powerful god named That Which Endures. Now, I haven't been able to find a lot of in-depth information about That Which Endures. It basically is a deity that's like so old and powerful that it might be a primordial or like an over deity, something like that, like kind of governs above other deities. It's insanely powerful in theory. It has the ability to destroy even the most powerful of magic items. But ultimately, there isn't just too much about it to really go in depth. It's kind of like a chaos god. So anyone that causes chaos kind of just supports the divine gift of energy to That Which Endures. So all the kind of chaos gods or gods that are chaotic, any worship to them is worship to him. So it's like an insanely powerful deity that kind of just took this interest in these goblins and hobgoblins that live in the Underdark. And that's kind of where the Verdan come from. All of a sudden, these goblins grew to be the size of hobgoblins. And these hobgoblins were usually kind of depicted with like red skin and orange skin, kind of reverted into this like jade green. And their like mentalities were different. They weren't so like lawful and militant. They kind of just developed this kind of unique good and chaotic kind of alignment. It's very bizarre how this happened, and it happened at the same time across the board. Like they just one second they were just regular goblinoids living in the Underdark, and then the next second they were just different, and they felt this kind of shift. And it's just very weird and very strange, and so they became the Verdan, which is so unique because they kind of have elven features. Like they look like goblins, but like they get prettier, and like they stand and be like 6 feet tall or anywhere between 3 and 4 feet when they're young, and then they grow to like that normal size, and they look kind of prettier goblins. They have pointed ears like elves, and they kind of develop this strange, almost elven characteristic to them, which is just weird. Because obviously elves are one of the goblins' greatest enemies, which is fun because if you're a chaos person and you had a group that hated another group, what's more fun than making them almost identical? Like, it's just a cool thing to do, and very horrific to them. That being said, because they are just the newest entities or races or species in Dungeons and Dragons, there's no history behind them. So no one knows really what to think. There's no instinctive prejudice about them because outside of them being kind of green, they look kind of elvish. But that's it. No one knows anything about them. They all kind of just mass exited their way out of the Underdark and started pursuing like life and seeing what the world is like. And they're just kind of like anti-oppressors. Like they're just walking around being people who trying to stand up for those who are abused and oppressed, and try to allocate the greatness of freedom to these people and to these groups, and they're willing to fight for it. Like they're adventurers, and they're good-hearted adventurers in their nature, and they're kind of just spreading out in the world, which is kind of wild because as a group doing that and being successful at it is going to get people to accept you. And the more people that accept you, the more you'll mingle into societies and the more verdant you'll actually produce. So it will kind of spread like a plague and devour the world with this chaotic goodness, which is just very strange because that which endures is not that kind of a deity, from what I could gather, the small things, because some people consider it an evil deity. So you're born out of the chaos of the cycle of life and death and existence, and you're a happy-go-lucky green guy. So, like, I'm with it, you know? Like, I'm cool with it. It's a very interesting little dynamic. So, to see what kind of they develop in, my main interest is to kind of see if this interacts with the hobgoblin story. And maybe this kind of causes a nice shift with Magoobliet as far as, like, now fighting a way to maintain and grab these entities and bring them into their fold, which would be really something that Magoobliet would be very interested in doing, as he tends to rule over all the other goblinoids. So, very, very interesting. You do have a few things that are kind of like really weird. Ultimately, they're just a very eclectic group. So you do actually stay small between 3 and 4 feet tall until you hit 5th level, in which case you hit a growth spurt. It says you get a 2-foot growth spurt and you become a medium creature. That happens in game, so it's very bizarre to see you just ding level 5 and then just like shoot up 2 feet almost in an instant or overnight. It is cool though, because although I hate the small races, I do love goblins. And not being small would be something that I think everything should forcibly go through in D&D. But that's something that you don't see anywhere else. So it's noticeable and it's interesting. And it should have some like role-playing reactions. You know, like you got sent out as a group to go out into the world. You come back, you're now 2 foot taller handing in a quest. Like someone's going to go, something happened. And plus it's funny and weird and strange and I'm with it. You also get an ability called Black Blood Healing. When you roll either a 1 or 2 on any hit die, you can instantly re-roll the die and take the new roll. That's great for groups that do a lot of combats in a playing day. Because your hit dice are very important in that kind of a feature. Because of that, you get to use them to recuperate and keep your stamina going and being able to continue in a fight. It's good. It's something that's always going to be beneficial to you throughout the game, which is rare because there's not many abilities like that are just super beneficial throughout from level 1 to level 20. And it's cool that they do get something like that. They gain limited telepathy. You can telepathically speak to any creature within 30 feet. You do not have to share a language to speak. However, they must be able to speak a language, and you can only communicate simple ideas. That is cool. It's such a great way for a new species to come out and interact with the world, and when they're speaking different languages of these other entities and creatures that exist, being able to just to send that mental thought out of, I'm not a threat. We are just explorers or whatever it is. Just like an idea, like I'm not here to hurt you, in a way that they can understand and that you can show them the respect needed. It was a great survival tool for a species that has no history of or anything. It's just kind of like this weird thing that exists. You also have persuasive. Your people's lack of history makes you trustworthy and humble. You have proficiency in the persuasion skill, which is great because you'll obviously need to use that. It's one of the best, one of the more common used skills you'll roll as a face ability is persuasion. And it's a great way to gain it for your skill. It's going to be useful almost all of the time. Any heavy RP groups will know how great this kind of ability is. You also gain telepathic insight. You have advantage on all wisdom and charisma saving throws. That is for charms. That is for anything that alters your perception and causes you to be like paralyzed, like whole person, things that kind of disable you in combat, like color spray, things like that. Those kinds of circumstances are wisdom and charisma saves that take you out of combat, basically, until you complete them. It's a very powerful thing to have because, again, if you do have proficiency in any of these saving throws, you now are never going like the chances of you getting hit with one of those things is very few and far between. So it does help out because it's advantage, not proficiency. It does kind of give you an added benefit to any one of those that you might pick up. And then finally, you can read and write Common and Goblin and one additional language. I would pick something really strange just because why not? It's a primordial being that kind of gave you this ability. I'd say deep speech would work. Anything like that that's very, very bizarre works. Undercommon, you're from the Underdark initially, so that would make sense as well. But whatever languages you want, you're more than welcome to pick whatever you think is appropriate or whatever fits the campaign. One of the great things about being a Verdan is you have the ability to be a wolf in sheep's clothing because you're so welcomed in societies, because people don't have a history of bigotry against you. You do get this opportunity to create this new entity that can go in and double cross and abuse the world around you. If you take a lot of the negatives of society today and meeting that for the first time, you can make cool stuff like that happen. You can use that to kind of make your character want to be that, or want to push that kind of mentality where like, here it is and I'm not good, but let them figure it out slowly. If you're playing a roleplay heavy campaign, this species, this race has a wonderful opportunity to be a charlatan that's an ambassador from their great land, and they wanted to make allies, and that's your way to get to close to people who are in power. And maybe you have absolutely nothing, but you just mug somebody for some fancy clothes. It's a cool concept that you have a lot of open avenues for and to pursue. Their insanely nature of being chaotically good and fighting the oppressive is great. If you wanted to be a genuine hero, if you wanted to be a character that wanted to just change who the goblinoids are, and your goal was just to grab them and show them that they can be something else. Considering the history of the goblinoids now, how it's kind of giving root to this Feywild entities that kind of came over here and their gods were killed by Magubliet and they were forced into being this evil entity, you can be a messiah character for goblins, and that can be your purpose. You can try and take this chaos that is that which endures and make it into a deity that is your predecessor. And it's factually your predecessor, but it could be the predecessor to all goblinoids, and show them that their original way of life was different. And you can make that work and abuse that in ways that you want. You could be good, you could be evil, you could use that to unite them and then conquer the world. You know, like you can follow a lot of strange twists and turns with your purpose for being an adventurer. The smarter you are with your knowledge and what you've gained with the world, the better. Keep in mind, the internet doesn't exist. So once you part ways as a Verdan from like where you are to be this adventurer, you're on your own. And no other Verdan know what you learn or what you experience because you're so new. There's no tower of knowledge that the Verdan have acquired. So it's a very cool concept to kind of open book create a character. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you've made it this far, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. We are actually on our goal to hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which is huge. We're very, very psyched about it. We think we can do it, but it's going to require a lot of help from all of you. Definitely hit that subscribe button. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends at Critical Failures. Check us out every Wednesday night. And the links to both of those is in our description. And thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.